Hey, what's up guys? Today we're working on a 2019 Honda Accord LX. This model has the electronic parking brake. To replace the rear brake pads on this, you have to, you can go about it 3 different ways. If you've got a nice scanner, you can use it to put it into maintenance mode or service mode for the rear brakes to replace the rear brake pads. You can do it manually with taking the actuator off the back of the caliper, which I'm going to walk through how to do that. Or you can also use a 12-volt power source to reverse the motor to retract it back into factory position to replace it that way. So I'm going to go through the second and the third option. I'm going to go through with you. I do have a scanner, but I like to show you guys how to do this the manual way, because most guys DIYing this at home are not going to have a super expensive scanner to put this into service mode. Pretty simple, straightforward. It's just a little bit of an extra step you have to go through to replace the rear brakes on most of these new Hondas, Acuras, and a lot of other newer vehicles. So let's get started. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and get our wheel off. And I apologize for the shadow. I'm kind of right in the line of the sun here, so I'm doing my best to get you guys a clear view. So go ahead, get our wheel off. It's a 19 millimeter. Okay, let's get that out of the way. Get our wheel off. Roll it out of the way. Okay. So as you can see on the back here, you've got this black motor right here. So this is the parking brake actuator, or the motor. So that's the piece that we need to retract in. Actually, we need to retract it in within the caliper here, but we'll get it all apart. I'll show you how to do all that. First things first, let's go ahead and get this little clip off right here. Get rid of that. We do have a new one that's getting replaced. Secondly, go ahead and get our caps off the back of our slide pins here. 1, 2, got it. Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to loosen our caliper bolts, and then we're going to unplug the parking brake. So the caliper bolts are going to be a 7 millimeter hex, and they're just right inside of here. Let's go ahead and get these off. This job is pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward if you've done brakes before. It's just the added step of the electronic parking brake. For whatever reason, Honda and a few other manufacturers decided to make this parking brake service mode unavailable on board the vehicle. You have to have the scanner to do it. I'm assuming they did it because they want more of your money at the dealership. But where there's a will, there's a way, and we're going to get through this together. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to push these back a little bit. These like to get hung up in there. So I always take a screwdriver and kind of push them back a little bit so we can just slide the caliper off. But first we need to go ahead and get that plug undone. It's right here. It's plugged in. So we'll get that off. Check. Just get a pick right inside of here. And you'll see the little clip. Just pull up on it. It's the easiest way for me. Just kind of tuck it out of the way a little bit. So we got them loose. So now what we got to do, go ahead and get our caliper worked off there. Okay. Get our old pads off. Check. So one thing I do want you to pay attention to is this is the old brake pad. This is the Honda OEM pad. You can see this arrow. So these sit a specific way for the purpose of this wear indicator being on the leading edge of the pad. So what that means is, since the wheel's spinning this way while you're driving, the leading edge is going to be this bottom one here. So you always want this wear indicator to be on the leading edge, which is going to be like this, because that's where the rotor, that's where the stopping power contacts first, is there. So generally this end of the pad is going to wear quicker than the top edge. So that's where you want the wear indicator to be. which is why they have that arrow facing up like this. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you put your new ones in. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and retract this and get this in a good spot so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing here. So you can see in there, there's 2 prongs. Let's see if I can get you a good view. So if you can see those 2 metal prongs in there, so there's 2 ways to go about this. So the first way, and probably the easiest way if you don't have some of these tools, is going to be to remove this motor off the back. Okay, so to do that, you're going to take these 2 hex bolts out right here. You got this one, you got this one. I have several other videos you can look at on Honda Civics. It's the same process, but for this video, we're going to do it with the 12-volt battery, just so I can show you guys how to do that. So you're going to take these are 5mm, I believe. You're going to unscrew both of these bolts. This whole motor is going to pull off of there. There is a rubber O-ring inside of there. Don't damage that. Once you get this off, you're going to get a Torx bit, and you'll see a spline drive inside of the caliper on the back end of it, and you're just going to spin that Torx spindle piece until you retract the mechanism all the way back up inside of there, and then you'll be able to retract the piston and go on about it like a normal brake job. So what we're going to do is we're going to retract it with this. So this is basically this converts a 20-volt DeWalt battery into a 12-volt. There's a ton of these converters out there for pretty much every battery there is. You can look online. I'll post a few links to Amazon for the DeWalt battery for Milwaukee and a few other ones. That way you guys can buy these converters. They're pretty cheap. They're like 10 bucks. And as you can see, it's a DC converter. It's 18-volt, 20-volt input, 12-volt output. So this runs on 12 volts. Obviously, the vehicle runs on 12 volts, so that's what you want. So let's go ahead and get our battery off there. So now to do this, we're basically just going to trick this motor into retracting all the way back. So what we need to do is, when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're not going the wrong way with this, because it will push the piston out. So let's get a good shot at it here. So I'm going to come in from this side, and I'm going to get my connection here to these 2 prongs. See if I can get you a good shot of it. So what you don't want is this piston to be pushing out. So when you're doing this, if you see that piston start to push out, just stop and reverse the polarity here, because you don't want that to happen. This should be retracting. See if I can get it at a better angle here. It's kind of tough to get a good angle and still be able to see what the piston's doing. There we go, it should work. Set this here. Sorry, you're not really going to be able to see what I'm doing completely. You're just going to have to kind of go by once you see it. It's kind of hard to get a good angle in there, but you're basically going to connect your ground to one prong, your power to the other one. So the piston's coming out, if you can see it. So I'm going the wrong way, so I need the reverse polarity. So I'm going to bring the ground over here. You'll hear it come all the way till it stops. It stopped, okay, it's good. So it's back to where it needs to be. It's retracted all the way in. Again, if you see that piston start to push out, stop and go the other way. So now next thing we need to do, we just need to go ahead and get this piston pushed in. So I use these C-channel vice grips. You can use whatever you want, whatever you're comfortable with using, C-clamp, etc. This is just how I do it. So I'm just going to come in, And the piston's just going to go straight in, just like a normal caliper would. Okay, check. And that's it. The caliper's set. It's ready to go. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this out of our way. We're going to go ahead and get these bolts off the back of the caliper bracket, which are 17 millimeter. Okay. There we go. Should be able to unscrew these by hand now. If you have any questions about how to do this or the process, you're not sure, please ask. If you push that piston out by doing it the wrong way, you will potentially have to replace the caliper. So just be careful when you're doing this. Make sure you take your time, do it right. There's essentially, inside of that caliper, there's a screw on the inside of the port of it that pushes out, or it retracts in, that puts pressure on the pad when you engage the parking brake. And when that happens, it just pinches against the rotor and that engages the parking brake. So in order to do rear brakes, you need to retract that screw all the way back into factory position so you can push the piston all the way back in. That's essentially all you're doing. So, all right, we got our bracket off. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and we are going to drill this set screw out, because I'm not fiddling with it. I never fiddle with them. I'm not going to sit here and fight with the screw unnecessarily, because they are pointless once this vehicle leaves the factory. So we're just going to go ahead and drill it out. 1/4 inch drill bit. Okay, it's out. Just need to give it a little love tap. Okay, it's off. And that's it. So we're gonna go ahead and we'll get our old one off. Our new rotor, get that put on. Set this box under here. Catch any of this rust. Get our rotor on. Check, it's good. So next thing I do is this caliper bracket. I come in and I clean this up. The way these pads sit in there, they just slide in these grooves. So I'm going to clean all that crap out of there. Get my drill back. You can use a wire brush. We use a wire wheel that goes on the drill. Really anything you have is going to clean all that gunk and rust up off of it. Will work just fine. So we just need to come in, clean it all. Okay, it's clean. Go ahead and get it set back in there. Get our 17s. Check. Go ahead and get these tight. Again, this job's pretty simple if you're familiar with doing brakes or you've done them in the past. The parking brake is just the only thing. If you're not comfortable using the battery, that's fine. I do it both ways sometimes, or I kind of go back and forth. Doing it manual is just as easy if you know what you're doing. But if you're not comfortable, it's fine. Again, I have other videos on how to manually do these. It's really simple. Just take this back off and do how I explain. All right, so we got our bracket on. We're good. Good here, good here. So we're gonna go ahead and get our pads. So like I said on the other one, pay attention to how this inboard pad come off. Remember, our wear indicator was at the bottom. So that's how we're gonna reinstall this one. It just slides right in there. Should have no resistance. It should fit in there nice and free since we got it all clean. Our outboard pad. These are two separate pads. You can see this one has a spring on it. It also has that wear indicator. That's gonna be your inboard. This is gonna be your outboard. It's gonna slide right in there like that. And we're just gonna take our rotor, or our caliper, slide it right back over. So I am gonna take these slide pins out and I'm gonna grease them. We use this Silglide grease. This is what I recommend for caliper pins and stuff. It doesn't swell up the rubber or anything. It's just a silicone based grease. Just gonna put a little bit on here to keep these sliding like they should. A little bit there. Check. Now we're gonna go ahead and get these started. Ratchet. Tight. One thing you do want to make sure is that spring is sitting, like you should have one sitting here, one sitting there. Make sure it's not popped up out of that middle area. That is how they should be. That spring is there to hold those down, hold the pad down into place. So tight. All right, let's not forget about our caps. Keep water out of there. Check. Now we're going to come back. We're going to plug our parking brake back in. Make sure you hear it. Listen for it to snap. Get a screwdriver. Just kind of prying it down on there. You can also pull on it. Make sure it's tight. Don't pull too hard on that wire though. You will mess that wire up. Last step is going to be our new locking clip here. So I do like to put a little bit of grease just on the end here, because these do have a tendency to get rusted and seasoned into these little holes. So I like to put just a little bit of grease in there, just so it comes out nice and smooth the next time. Go ahead, slide it in, clip it into place, and that's it. It's easy as that. So now we're just going to get our wheel back on, make sure everything's tight. We're going to get in the vehicle, pump the brakes up. We're going to test the electronic parking brake, make sure everything's working. If for whatever reason you get in the vehicle and the parking brake light is on, make sure that you have your plugs plugged in properly. They're all the way in. Turn the vehicle off, turn it back on, take it for a test drive. Everything should be good. That's it. Easy peasy. I'm going to go ahead and get the wheel on, get this job done, and go play some softball. You guys have a wonderful day. If you got any questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the comment section. I'll get back with you. Hit that subscribe button, be greatly appreciated. I don't run any, I don't do any kind of affiliate marketing or anything on this channel. It's just kind of help you guys out. So anything is appreciated. Thanks guys, have a good one.